I'm recording.
Okay.
I'm recording. So this is my friend. I want to introduce you with my friend Michael Druck. I just met him online. He's a very interesting person. I was going over his profile in Facebook. He is a rare book dealer. He is a Torah Talmidim. He studies Torah. He's a Jewish wonderful friend, and I'd like to ask you, Michael, how are you today? And can you let me in more about what you do? What's your background, and how are you today? And I hope, of course, that you and everyone over there are absolutely fine.
No, we are fine. I'm very happy to be here with you, and I hope that everyone finds ways to learn and be themselves. That's what I'm trying to do, and that's what I am doing, and I'm determined to do that. My background is in books, literature, music.
Do you play any instrument on your own, or did you just?
I play the piano, and I once taught myself, to the amazement of my parents, the harmonica.
Harmonica, awesome.
I don't play that much today on the piano either. I am a student of music.
Yes.
Literature, science, Torah, as many things as I can learn about. COVID, to some who stay in their house and feel sorry for themselves, I am not that way. I'm here to learn.
What have you learned so far in this COVID time that we're living today?
Well, I study with about 17 or 18 different rabbis. I also teach Torah, learning all the time. The books I have around me are biographies of Isaac Newton, Da Vinci. There's many Torah books here. I'm learning about God, learning how to be close to him. But I take my inspiration from the sages that are behind me, the sages that are with me, and the great minds of history that I can learn from, and I can learn about. I'm never bored. I remember one time my daughter called me and she said, "Dad, I have nothing to do. I don't know what to do." So I controlled myself. I said, "Emily, you have TV, books, the internet, the radio. The world is there. I don't care whether you're walking down the street or you're sitting at home. The world is there for you to discover. Before you know it, you'll be my age and discover not only what you don't know, but you'll also discover what you do know." I am 78 years old, and I'm amazed by what I don't know. And there are people I know who are amazed by what I do know, and also by what I don't know. I'm always learning.
I read somewhere that at some level, everybody's very skilled and proficient in something, but very ignorant in other aspects.
Right. Fascinated by Leonardo da Vinci, who was in many areas of learning, and so was Isaac Newton. Imagine Isaac Newton lived during a plague, lived alone in his house, and here I am. He was learning about gravity. He was inventing the calculus. although there's some discrepancy of whether he actually did it.
On his own or somebody else already.
Somebody else may have done it before him.
Yeah.
A fellow by the name of Leibniz. But we are here to learn. And we will continue that.
So I'm not Jewish, and I'm sure that some of my friends that are also not Jewish, they would maybe want to know, well, what's a sage in terms of Torah? Can you? I know what it is, but can you like in your own words, can you explain to us what's a sage, please?
Well, let's start with Leonardo da Vinci, the sage, man who had ideas, interests, inventions. That's a sage. The sage in Torah is the one who interprets Torah, who learns about Torah, usually a man of wisdom. And from these men of wisdom, we learn what wisdom is. And if we're lucky, or we persevere, we can use wisdom and become wise to a degree. We have to learn from everybody.
Which one of the sages do you like more, their teaching or their area of expertise, or with which
their lifestyle?
You think that
Maimonides is one, doctor, scientist, interpreter of Torah. There are others who I'm interested in, who are not so easy to get along with. There are those who just sit and study Torah all day long.
I think that because you enjoy the life of Leonardo da Vinci and the life of Maimonides, the Rambam, they're very similar in the way that they approached knowledge. They were both mathematicians. They were both very. Even though Maimonides was a great sage in the Torah, he was also very learned in other human sciences.
Yes, absolutely.
So that makes absolute sense. That you like the teachings of the Rambam. I was reading once that when the Rambam first came out with his book, I forgot the name of the book, but the book that he wrote, and that some other sages of his time were not, they weren't agreeing with the teachings of the Rambam, and they started burning his book, Rambam's book. What was it that the people of that time didn't like about the Rambam?
Ideas are always controversial.
Right.
But today we accept the Rambam, his ideas. He wrote about medicine. Many of his medical treatises are well known today. Science. The interpretations of Torah rely heavily on astronomical knowledge. We have to know when the day of rest is, what time it's going to be dark, the beginning of the Jewish day of rest, the Sabbath, Shabbos.
Mm-hmm. Shabbos, right.
So we learn about astronomy, the motions of the planets. Astronomy interests me greatly, and it's surprising the things I don't know about astronomy. I love it. The things also that are important to me is this. If you open your mind, you discover that you're in an age of discovery. You can discover all sorts of things. Take, for example, let me go into two areas of knowledge or of openings for knowledge. Let's take a book. So you open a book. It's a bunch of words. It's a bunch of ideas. Torah is God's law. What do you discover in there? What do you discover in books? What falls out of a book? Is it just a book? Is it just ideas, or is there something in the book that you can actually discover?
Or do you think that it's also a desire of the author to actually put in printing something that he felt very compelled to write, so people could benefit from what he found out, maybe?
Or what he said? A woman came up to me with a book one day that was signed by a very famous author.
Mm-hmm.
I was
You
very
also
impressed.
I'm sorry, who?
I was very impressed.
Mm-hmm.
I looked at her, I looked at the author, I looked at the date that he signed it.
Mm-hmm.
And I looked at her and I said, there's only one problem, ma'am. The author was dead when he signed it. So the signature can't be real.
Right. That was a forgery.
Okay.
It was a forgery.
Well, there's a book here by Arthur Conan Doyle, an unknown book, beautifully written, called Through the Magic Door.
Arthur Conan Doyle?
Doyle, who wrote Sherlock Holmes. Through the Magic Door, about what you can find in your library. So this man owned a book, and the book
It rings a bell. Through the Magic Door, it rings a bell.
In the book, Arthur Conan Doyle talks about a man who owned a book and had the book play of some ancient person in it.
Yeah.
So I have the book, Through the Magic Door. I opened the book, and what falls out? That book plate by some ancient collector. So the very book plate that Arthur Conan Doyle was talking about was in the book that I was looking at. It fell out.
What did you do with it? What did you do? I'm sorry. What did you do with
I
it?
still have the book. Let's talk about discovery for a moment.
Mm-hmm.
I have discovered an unpublished manuscript by the American composer Aaron Copland, donated to the Library of Congress. Aaron Copland said to me, would you donate it to the Library of Congress? I said, certainly. I discovered an unpublished poem by Emily Dickinson. There's in my possession bars of music signed by a composer by the name of Nadia Boulanger.
Nadia Boulanger. Who was her? Excuse my
Wait. She writes, these are bars of music from the First Symphony by Aaron Copland, performed by the Boston Symphony Orchestra. Nadia Boulanger was not only a composer herself, but she was Aaron Copland's teacher. So she wrote out bars of music. From the first performance of this symphony by Aaron Copland, had its premiere in Boston in 1925, I believe, or 1923. It's a discovery. People ask, who's Nadia Boulanger? I don't know who she is. Why bother looking? Well, I looked it up. Well, I knew it anyway. But you look it up, you find out who Nadia Boulanger was. It adds to the value, adds to the history. If you open your mind and look up things, you will discover things. Like there are people who are on Facebook who say these things. They ask the question on Facebook. What is gravity? Why are they asking the question on Facebook, what is gravity? All I have to do is Google, go to Google and look it up.
We'll find the law of gravity. Yeah.
I mean, you know what gravity is, but you want a scientific definition of it. So why ask somebody on Facebook?
Right.
Go to Google, look up yourself. It's like this. Someone who I learned with said, he's a teacher, You're listening to all these lectures on Zoom and on Facebook, and they've been all these science lectures, astronomy. You can go to you can go to YouTube, you can go to Facebook, you can go all these things. They're all lectures by scientists. You can hear Shakespeare plays on YouTube. It's all there. Okay, so what is the point? You can discover things. You can learn about things. So here's what I do. I put the news on, and what do I hear? This person hates that person. This person shot those people. This party hates that party. And they're all going about what they hate. Mm-hmm. Torah says not to hate. So I turn the TV off and I go to Torah. The point I was trying to make before, let me go back a step. I said to the rabbi, I'm listening to all these lectures on Facebook. Wonderful. All these lectures about Torah and astronomy. Well, so you're listening to someone's opinion about what's in Torah, Jewish rule of law, given by God to Moses on Mount Sinai. You hear all these people giving lectures. What would happen if you didn't hear the people talking about on what they're talking about on Facebook? What you might do is you might open the Torah and read about what it says yourself and come to your own conclusions. So you're listening to someone else's opinion rather than coming to your own conclusion. Is something about your own conclusion that's wrong? Maybe their conclusion and your conclusion is better. Maybe their conclusion is better than your conclusion. It's like listening to what you hear on television or on the radio. Oh, here's a conservative viewpoint. Here's a Democratic viewpoint. Here's a Republican viewpoint.
We have the leftists, the righties, the
yeah. What are you do? What are you doing? Oh, I see what you're doing. So you dislike that guy. So you're not going to vote for him because you dislike him. But have you asked what he's accomplished? You love this guy because he's much nicer. Then you ask yourself, well, what has he accomplished?
I see, yeah. I see
what he's not doing that he should be, that you think he should be doing. Are you thinking for yourself or are you listening to other people's viewpoint? Think for yourself and then make a decision yourself. Stop based on what you like or you don't like the person. There's a very famous rabbi by the name of Rogachover. The Rogachover. Look him up. Rogachover.
The Rogachover.
The Rogachover. He was an impossible human being. But he knew all volumes of the Talmud, all volumes of the Torah by heart. So when you asked him a question, a simple question, he would look like this. He would make an expression like, I can't believe this guy's asking this question like this. Okay, you want the answer? Go to that book, page 55, line 7. Go to this book, and it's all done by heart. Go to this book, go to Torah, this parsha, this section, okay, line 15, section A, or Talmud 7a 4, okay, and the answer is right there. Go to the bottom of the next line from the bottom. This is all in his head, and they would say about him, the Rogachover was worth 10 Einsteins. I'm sorry, 10 Einsteins. Look him up; you'll see the words right there. The mind of 10 Einsteins.
He was like a walking library.
He was a walking library, and you're complaining about, I'm stuck in my house. Is that where your mind goes? And sometimes I have to control my own mind. So I walk down the street. This is a habit I've broken. I used to have this habit. Look at this. The guy's parked practically in the middle of the street. Why? Can't he just park, keep right, stay there? You're supposed to be parked. Why can't he do that? Why am I concerned about that?
Yeah.
Did God make it that way? Yes, God made it that way. Why? Because he probably wants to see how I'm going to react. How should I react?
What you call in what you say in Hebrew, our midot, right?
Yeah. I mean, I should, God put it there for a reason. How am I going to react? How I should react. That is the word hate. The Torah tells us not to hate. So when you look at politics,
Is
I
it
like
true?
this party, I like that. Don't
I'm
like
sorry
that
for
party.
cutting you out, but is it true
Go
what
ahead.
some rabbis teach, that there is this this thing called sinat hinam, and that's why the second temple was destroyed, and that you still have that issue going around, the sinat
That's
hinam?
right. Yeah. Yeah. People hate cause all kinds of problems. You want to hate? Go ahead. I love my fellow man. You want to hate? Fine. There are people out there who say this. Theory of evolution is totally wrong.
I also don't like it. Doesn't make sense.
Okay, doesn't make sense to you. All of evolution's wrong. That's the question I ask. The problem actually is some of it is wrong, not all of it. There's an animal who was evolving at Darwin's time. It evolved before Darwin's time, and it evolved 2 weeks ago. It's still evolving. The same animal, the finch, the bird. It's evolving in front of us. Darwin was right. That's evolution. Not everything that Darwin said was right. We've proven him wrong. But don't discount the mind of Darwin because of one issue.
I mean, I'm not a scientist, and I'm not very well literate in science. I have read articles quoting Darwin and making a lot of sense of what he wrote. But the Darwinism, what I've learned, that the bottom line right now is that the Darwinism that he came out with, it's not the Darwinism that they teach today in the universities. It's not the same Darwinism.
Right.
It's not the same evolution principles. They already interpreted what Darwin drafted in his works, and now they interpret his work the way it fits their own agenda.
That's the key. That is an intelligent thing to say. Own agenda.
Yeah.
Let's interpret what's going on in the world today with our own agenda. Is that fair? You have to look at the interpretation is one thing. Facts is another.
Yeah, because it's very dishonest. I mean, I can come up with my own idea, but not say that that's what I read from another author, because that's not what that author meant at all. I mean,
yeah, you interpret it your way.
I could refer you, like you said, I could tell you, look, go to Darwin's book, page 55, and right there it says something about what you're asking right now. But it's not fair to quote or misquote a author trying to make a point about my own beliefs. Because after all, those authors are already dead, and what we could have understood about the way they thought, that's why they are their own best commentators. Like Darwin should be the very best apologist in Darwinism should be Darwin himself. We'll go to the book and see what he actually said.
You say they're dead.
The people, I mean, in terms of their body, their lifespan, yes, it ended, and it's not something plausible to go back and have a like right now have a conversation. What did you mean, Mr. Darwin, when you wrote this and that? I mean, that's something.
He's not going to tell you, but he's not dead. His spirit lives in the people who read his books. He has something to say. He may be wrong. He may have been proven wrong. He would be surprised to see what's going on in the world today, just like my parents would be surprised to see what's going on in the world today. We have things like, did you ever hear of a cell phone? What's a cell phone?
He might have, yeah. He might have. Any of those authors of those times might, like uh, translate it backwards to the Greek and say cell, meaning like a cell from a human body, biology, and a phone, phonetics, maybe a little,
Quite a little twist can
yeah.
change. There's a little twist in history. History has its twists and turns. History repeats itself.
Wow.
Why do certain things happen? Why do we have a Holocaust? Why do we have COVID? How do the Jews interpret COVID?
Yeah, how do you interpret COVID? What do you think about it in your communities, in your day-to-day
According to
life?
my community, COVID is a punishment to the Jews. Why? The Jews are supposed to lead by example. They're waiting for the Messiah, Mashiach. We were put on this earth to change the world to God's liking. We have been unsuccessful, either because other people don't want to change for the better, or we weren't convincing them enough to change the world for the better. Everything happens for a reason. Just like the car parked on the other side of the street, God's waiting for me to react to it, and I not disappointed him. I exactly reacted the wrong way. The God throws this thing up in front of me. You know, there are people, bad things happen to people. Let's take a person who was married before and they're divorced. He remarries. Most of the time, probably he remarries for the better.
Hopefully.
Hopefully. Okay. So was the divorce for the better?
The Torah does have the divorce as a way of solving problems, doesn't it? It's not against the
All
law.
the answers are in Torah.
And it's not against the law in the Torah to get divorced for the right reasons.
Yeah.
So it's there for some reason, because
every problem that I had emotionally, I have solved by way of Torah. Once I made a list of all my faults. Big list. I really made the list. Number one, I have it upstairs. I have part of it over here. Number one, I react this way to that situation. Here's the situation. How do I change that? So I looked through Torah, Talmud, Jewish writings, and found out that this is the way it should be. So I put a marker in the book that it came out of Torah, or whatever book it came out of, written by a sage or the Talmud. I made a list. I put the bookmark in, put the name of the book, the page number that particular issue was addressed. Made a long list. I covered 3 sheets of paper. This long sheets of paper like this. So anytime I have a problem, I go, wait a minute, where is that? I was driving along in the car. Wait a minute. I was driving along in the car and the guy was behind me was tailgating. What do I do? What's going on when the guy tailgates me? Okay, I have 3 choices. I can jam on my brakes. So I want to have a relationship with the person who's tailgating me. I'm jamming on my brakes. He's going to try to get back at me. So we have a relationship. You want a relationship with a person like that? Let's say it wasn't me. The person who does tailgating, do you want to have a relationship with the person who does tailgating? And the answer is no. So why are you pursuing a relationship? So here's what you can do. You can pull over the side and let him go. Why is he driving so fast? Did you ever think that maybe his wife is giving birth and you can't take her to the hospital very quickly? He's trying to move you along. So get out of his way. You don't know why he's tailgating or why he's speeding. In the past, as a youngster, certainly I drove that way. I put my brakes on or drove very slowly. As I become an adult, and someday I will become an adult, okay, I pull over to the side and let him go. And where did he wind up? At the same light I did at the same time. We're driving along. The guy's speeding. He wants to get ahead of me. Where's he wind up? At a light. Who's right behind him? I am. He gained nothing.
Exactly. That's happened to me often.
Why have a relationship with a person? Why do we have relationships like that? There's a theory called, it's written in Judaism, a fence around Torah. What does that mean? It means we keep Torah here and we put a fence around it so that people can't abuse it.
Yeah.
But if Torah is within us, we put a fence around us. We separate us from people who are not good for us.
That's right. It makes sense. The Rabbanam, or how do you call it? The rabbinical laws that are there to enforce the actual Torah laws, right? Like, for example, it's not allowed to write in Shabbos. So the rabbis made a law to not hold a pen in Shabbos, so that way you will
are not tempted
to write anything down on Shabbos.
Yeah. A rabbi once told me, I have now I've been moving. I just joined a synagogue in South Carolina. I'm now the rabbi there. He was the rabbi in Minnesota. He's now going to South Carolina. And I said to him this, so in 3 years, you're going to have a Southern accent. He said, why have a Southern accent? Because you're going to be grasping their culture. Or you want your own. You want to stay where you are and grow, or you want to...
I'm sorry, I can't hear you anymore. Can you hear me? I can't hear you, Michael. Can you hear me? Your volume disappeared.
Oh, okay.
There you are. There you are again.
Okay.
You're back.
If you associate with situations that will not be good for you, or that you might become involved in, you might get a Southern accent, or you may pick up habits that are bad for you. Do you want to risk changing your personality to fit them, or do you want to grow with the sages behind you, or with God next to you in Torah?
On top of what you're mentioning, that you haven't fulfilled the commandment to raise up this world correctly as Jews. I mean, I'm really interested because I believe that the internet and everything has come to us in a very good timing, where we need the Jewish people to help us in actually teach us, like it says in Isaiah, that you are the Orla Goyim, the light to the nations. In terms of what would you tell me as a non-Jew on how to become a better human being according to the Torah?
Be a light.
Exactly, but how would you
be friendly? Do good deeds. In Jewish we call it mitzvah.
Do mitzvahs.
Do mitzvah. Do good deeds for people. God wants you to do mitzvahs. God wants the Jewish people to do mitzvahs. Haven't done it. So what if somebody does bad things to you? You're gonna get angry at them? You can't get angry at them according to Jewish law, because then you're worshiping anger and you're not worshiping God. You're doing what we call lashon hara.
The lashon hara is the bad tongue, right? And the other one is the avodah zarah, the idol worshiping, right? You know, you're like
exactly. So you're worshiping the idol of anger rather than the reality of God.
Right.
He's all over. He's around you. He's here. He's listening to you. He's listening to me. How do you behave in the front of a king?
We need to be humble. We need to be down to earth and understand that we are nothing.
Dress correctly, eat with manners. This is what God wants. God wants us to follow his laws. Torah is God's law.
What are you studying right now in the I know that the Jewish people study a portion of the Torah every week. What's the portion of this week that you are studying, Michael?
The best of all.
Which one's that?
Kedushim, which is be holy like I am holy.
Kedushim.
Yeah. We can't be as holy as he is. He wants us to be holy because I am. He says, I want you to be holy because I am holy.
Mm-hmm.
You can't be as holy as he is because he's perfect. We're not perfect, but we can strive. By our holiness, we can teach others. Holiness is doing mitzvahs. God does mitzvahs. God gave you this life. What are you complaining about? But there's COVID out there. There were plagues in his plagues, but history's full of plagues. You know, let that bother you?
It's something that's very, it's like something that happens in cycles. It's cyclic. Like every 100 years, something happens, right?
There are heat waves, there are global warming, there's global cooling. It happens all through history. Things don't last. So we're going backwards. The United States is going towards socialism. I guess. I don't know. We'll see how far they get. Most socialist countries don't do very well. I don't think any of them really do very well. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. You first have socialism, then you have capitalism. You go back to socialism, goes here, goes there. So I'm not going to play their game. I am here to learn about the universe that I live in. God gave me an opportunity. And during my lifetime, I've met some very famous people, beginning with Eleanor Roosevelt in 1965.
Eleanor
Roosevelt in 1960. I met her.
1960. The wife of who?
Franklin D. Roosevelt, the president.
Franklin D. Roosevelt.
Right.
Can you share something about that particular occurrence?
Yeah, I can tell you, I didn't know better. I didn't ask for her autograph. It was the president's wife. What did I know?
Mm-hmm.
I did learn this thing, that she didn't quite agree. That's putting it mildly. She did not agree with her husband's turning away a ship of refugee Jews that were trying to land in this country, and he turned the ship away. And they went back to Germany, and they were destroyed. She didn't agree with him. She was very pro the Jewish people. Her husband was not, although the Jewish people admired him.
And so that was in the 60s, and that still happened. That still happened. That the Jews were still being in the 60s under.
Well, I met her in the 1960s. What her husband did were 1940s, I guess.
Oh, I see.
Or the 30s or something like that. Whenever that situation occurred. But she,
because I have learned that many Jewish ships were sent back to Europe, and many Jews were were killed during that time.
Right.
And the funny thing is that, well, these countries, they were all with Christian backgrounds, because the Jews that fled to Japan, even though Japan was with Germany in the Second World War, Japan did receive Jew refugees.
Oh, yes. From a Japanese diplomat who lived in Germany. I think his name was Sakahara, something like that. I forget his name.
But on the other hand, the Christian countries in Europe, they were all okay persecuting and killing Jews.
And when the Jews left, they lost a lot of their economic base. The Jews were the bankers.
That's right. And I've also learned that
some of the Jews were bankers.
No. I mean, I also learned that when Napoleon, the French emperor, when he was in power, He was the first emperor that gave the Jews liberty for public education.
Mhm.
And one of those Orthodox rabbis, his last name was Mendelssohn. He went to the university, and he was the one that brought these ideas of the Zionism and started propagating anti-Semitism, and that's where Hitler learned from, and that's how that school started.
Well, Karl Marx was Jewish.
Right. All those learned Jewish people that started going to college and to universities. At the end of the day, they were the intellectual authors of this.
Yeah, I don't think that Karl Marx imagined that Hitler would. Well, Hitler was not a communist.
No, because Hitler, that was his. That was like his pretext. He said, "Well, Karl Marx is a Jew, and he invented communism. That's why we should go against the Jew ideology." But
yeah, all sorts of people want to go against the Jews.
But never mind the reason. I mean, I've learned that all through history, starting with the Amalekites, they were the first anti-Jewish. I mean, the first anti-Jews, the Amalekites, when they were going out of Egypt.
And we survived anyway, don't we?
Yeah, without any reason. I mean, you didn't in the desert. You didn't do anything to the Amalekites, and they just wanted to. Amalek just wanted to attack the tribes that were just being delivered from Egypt under the leadership of Moshe Rabbeinu. So it doesn't make sense. Why should the world instead of persecuting this nation that's now that to me you hold like the like when you have a power of attorney, when you hold the deed of something that's worth millions, that you have it, and you're the one that knows the password and the combination and everything for those secrets that are so valuable. Why, instead of learning from you, why have we persecuted you? And I want to apologize for that.
So the Jews were chosen people.
Yeah, that's what
we weren't chosen first. God chose others. They turned it down.
Yeah, that's what the nations don't know. They don't know that it's written that the Torah was offered first to the 70 nations, and all of the 70 nations declined the Torah, and you were the only people that accepted the bearer of the bearing of the Torah.
So what are you blaming us for? Turning it down.
But the nations,
personally, yeah.
But the nations, we don't know that. Well, nobody's taught us that. So we get jealous. I mean, when we hear the word the chosen one or the chosen people, out of our ignorance, we get jealous because we say, well, how come they feel or how come they think they are the chosen people? But when you actually read the Torah itself and the commentaries and the Midrash and the Gemara, it says there that the Torah was first offered to the 70 nations, and we didn't accept the Torah, and you did, and that's what happened. And according to the sages, some of us on individual level, we did accept it, but as a people, we didn't. So that's why we had to come back in a Gilgul, in a reincarnation, to now accept the Torah again in this new life that we're having. You tell me if I'm right or wrong.
Yeah, it's not my fault that you didn't want the Torah. I'm not talking about you personally. That's a Jewish fault. We don't go around saying we are chosen.
No, you're not. You don't do that.
But you know what I'm talking about. We're not going around, but hey, we're chosen. Somebody chose us, so we took it. I accepted it. Okay, God, you want me to choose? You're giving me the Torah. Okay, I'll take it. Somebody comes up with you with $500. Well, I would give you $500. You want it? Yeah, I'll take it. Okay. The other guy comes around and says, "Hey, you got the $500. I didn't. Might be jealous. I was offered to you first. You didn't want to take it. I'll take the $500."
Exactly.
I mean, that's probably a bad example, but it's an example that.
No, but it's a good example. It's a very, it's very realistic. You get the point that when somebody gives you something, and it's just two options, you say yes or you say no.
Right.
You can't say, "Can I think about it?" Or "Can I?"
Yeah,
Like you said, how are you going to have a king waiting for an answer? I mean, that's not possible.
Yeah, give it to that guy. You want to offer to me? Okay, I'll take it.
Yeah.
We're giving you the universe.
Do you think there's a relationship? Because I've thought about this. I like languages very much. It's not that I know a lot, but I just like languages. Do you think there's a relationship between the word Britain from the British and the word Brit? That's the covenant, the Brit, the Brit. That's just,
Brit.
or that's just a coincidence.
It has a negative connotation, I think. The Brit. Well, he's a Brit.
No, I mean not the people, but the terminology, the root word Brit.
I think it has a negative connotation.
No, I don't mean in terms of expressing yourself. I mean in terms of linguistics. If the word Britain and the word Brit, like the Brit, like the Brit Milah, if it has a linguistic.
Sometimes there's a connection in languages.
Mm-hmm.
People borrow, groups of people borrow languages, expressions from other people. I am aware of, I don't know how there's a connection, but there are many words in the English language that have been borrowed from Judaism, Hebrew. Mm-hmm. People borrow from each other. Mm-hmm. Different things mean different things to different people.
Also in Spanish, there's this garment here in Mexico that people use, but mostly women, that it's called a chal, literally chal. Right. And I've learned that in Hebrew, there's this, the Jews use a
prayer shawl.
Yeah, it's not the tzitzit. It's not the tzitzit. It's the talit.
Talis, yeah.
The talis, yeah.
Yeah, it's here. I have several of them. It's right over there.
And if you see Mexican folklore, you see people with the exact same design.
Yeah, I wonder where that came from.
But I mean, it's very interesting because, I mean, it's very it's exactly Jewish, but instead of being white with the blue stripe, it's colored like this with like the rainbow colors. Yeah.
You're basically asking where the idea of a sweater or a shawl comes from. It's from ancient cultures, I'm sure.
Because I have another friend that he teaches. He's from Spain. He's a Jew. His name is Mario Saban. He's a Spaniard Jew, and he says that many people were converted or were expelled from Spain, from Sepharad, Spain.
Unless they were wanted to convert or forced to convert.
But many of them they were still undercover Jews, and when they came to here, to the Latin America, to the New Spain, to Mexico, Panama, Argentina. So they still had their religious Jew traditions. Mm-hmm. They did them.
They kept
them.
They kept them. It's like, I want to say this to you before. Imagine this, and this is not far-fetched. I know what happened. I can't remember what the rabbi had happened to. He's sitting in his house learning Torah. The Nazis are coming. They're pillaging the village in Poland or wherever it is. They're setting fires to houses. He alone, or sometimes he with a bunch of other men studying Torah, are in the basement of a house, and they're studying Torah while all that is happening out there.
Mhm.
They may be spared or may not be spared. So here's Michael Druck in his basement, where I am right now.
Yes. And I thank you for letting me in.
Studying Torah, in spite of what goes on out here. Let them do what they want. Look at the world today. Look what's going on. I don't have to, I'm tired of listening to it already. All the hate that's going on, the murders, all the stuff that goes on. I don't have time for that. I have time for Torah, because that's what God wants. If I can make a difference, I have to make a difference. I can do what I can. I'm only one man, here to learn and do God's work, if I can.
I'd like to ask you if you could be my my teacher in learning the way you learn Torah, because over here it's very difficult, and I live in this part of Mexico where it's like 100% Catholic, and the only Jew communities are like in in Mexico City, in the capital city.
Okay.
And it's like 3 hours away from here, and it's pretty difficult to have a rabbi around. And maybe you can share something with us, and maybe we can gather some people, some students, and
anytime, would love it.
So you can
would love it. And by the way, I live in a neighborhood. There are no Jews in this neighborhood.
So you can fulfill your duty as a light to the nations, because I belong to the nations, and you're a Jew, man.
Well, there's no reason why you can't be a light to the nation. There's no reason why
you need to teach me.
Can't be lights to the nation.
But you need to teach me how to become one, because how can you do, like it says in the sages? I've read not whole books, but I've read thoughts of things that they say. How can you do a good mitzvah if you're not aware of how you must perform a good mitzvah?
A mitzvah is somebody walks by your door, you say good morning.
Right.
That's a mitzvah.
Good morning.
Good morning. How are you? How's your day going? I do it all the time. There are no Jews in my neighborhood at all.
Mm-hmm.
Lots of houses here. No Jews here.
Right.
Here I am in my, what we call a mishkan.
I was thinking in terms of that the most greatest or the best mitzvah of all is learning Torah. And sometimes we get a book and we just open it and we do not have any idea what's coming inside our brain.
Right. Well, God has something to teach us. Mm-hmm. And the interpretation is something that we can delve into. I'd love to be a part of anything that teach you or teach any of your friends or whatever. I'm here learning and teaching all the time,
because we have this recording going on, and we can have you can, for example, tell me, listen, let's gather together, maybe every Saturday, or not Saturday, not on Shabbos, but any other day, and no I'm going to give you a portion of what to study. It says right here, maybe in the Kedushim, in the parasha, in the Torah portion, the Kedushim.
Yeah, we'll explore it together.
Yeah, you can tell you what it says, what the sages said, what Rashi said. I know that there was this incredible Rabbi Rashi who comments about all the Torah, all the Talmud. Mm-hmm. So I'd like to actually have someone, a real human being, a real Jew, to actually teach the way like you would teach
absolutely
a very illiterate person that's just searching not for the truth. I mean, that I'm way past that. No, I mean, for good education in terms of having a someone that's educated, that has the experience and the background and the credentials to do it. Because
we can learn anytime you want.
Okay, thank you, sir.
We can make up a special time for learning. I'm learning all the time, and sometimes I'm learning every day.
Have you composed something on your own, like poems or essays or something?
Didn't I send you a poem?
That was yours?
Yes.
That's wonderful.
Thank you.
And you did it?
I have 1,000 of poems here.
Your poems?
Oh, yes.
And have you recorded them?
Not all of them? Well, if you look on the on Google, the Jewish poems of Michael Druck, you'll see some of my poems there. The Jewish poems.
Where can they find you? Actually, where can they find you? Or would you like me to help you set up a YouTube channel with all of your, like, with the title of your poem, and so people can press play on them and actually enjoy your. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. No problem.
So that would be a yes. You want me to set you up a channel, or do you have a channel?
Yes. No, I don't have a channel.
Okay. Yeah, I can do that for you.
Okay. So it's important that people become aware of, not me, but
the culture. I mean, culture is
worthwhile.
Absolutely, it's worthwhile.
It's the culture. We could all use the culture. I mean, there are Jews who support who look at and study all kinds of cultures.
It's because culture keeps us away from animals. Actually, I mean, you don't need to be like very sophisticated, but if you appreciate culture and if you appreciate beauty, that's what keeps us away from being animals. That's right.
And some animals are smarter than people.
Many. I'm impressed of, for example, I've seen the pictures, not in real life, of course, but I've seen the pictures of a human brain, like it's like this size.
Right.
The brain of a dolphin is like this size. Have you seen that?
I haven't seen that, but I know dolphins are very smart.
Yeah, but the brain is, like they say that the animals' brains sometimes are smaller because they've developed less than human brains have. But actually, if you see,
you're talking about size.
Yeah, but actually, it has to do with the size in terms of the capacity of the brain, because if it has more volume, it means it has more nervous connections and more, let's say, like that.
I understand where you're coming from.
Yeah, well, the dolphin is surprisingly bigger. The brain, in terms of the ratio, the body of the ratio of a dolphin and its size, they're wonderful.
Yeah, they have intelligence we haven't even discovered yet. We know they're very smart. There are certain animals that are very, very known for their intelligence.
Do you believe what it's written about King Solomon, that he was able to understand all the languages of all the creation, all the animals, and all that? Is that something metaphoric?
I don't know.
Or is that true?
I don't know.
Because they say that he was able to speak the language of the wind, the language of the ants.
He had a great mind. He was a sage, the wisdom of Solomon. Mm. I'm not that smart. I learned from Solomon.
What are some works? What are some works of the sages that are not very well known to the world? Like we know that there are the books of Solomon, like the Proverbs and things like that. What are some?
There are many versions of this book. This is edited by Rabbi Abraham Twersky, very famous rabbi, passed away a couple of weeks ago. This is called Visions of the Fathers, okay? But the Pirkei Avot means, there's another copy here.
It's the wisdom of the fathers, the Pirkei Avot, Pirkei Avot, wisdom of the sages.
Right.
So it's in Jewish, in Ashkenazi,
English and Hebrew. Ashkenazi, English and in Hebrew. Here's the same book, Perky Avos.
Perky Avos. Perky Avos.
Perky Avos. Man, let me just do this. Yeah, I can do that. Perky Avos, here it is.
That's wonderful.
Edited by the Maharal of Prague, a great rabbi.
How much did you pay for that book? That looks beautiful.
I don't remember what this book goes for. $25, $30. Perky Avos. There are many editions of Perky Avos around. Many, many different editions of it. And that's the book that you and I would learn from.
I'd love to. Perky Avos.
Perky Avos.
I've heard of it.
Yeah, no, you don't even have to go out and buy the book. I'll just read things to you and make commentary. Perky Avos, very famous. I must have about 6 copies of Perky Avos here, all different.
Wonderful.
They have the saying of the sages, what they said,
and then the commentary of the.
Then the commentary underneath. Sometimes the commentary is quite lengthy.
It's because it's so packed, so well packed with wisdom that in order to unpack it, it's when you have a very good packed like a refrigerator, and if you want to show actually what's inside, and if you want to display the whole thing, you would need like a lot of room to actually show everything that's there. That's why it looks so lengthy. Yeah.
Right. Very good book. They're reading it now. During the summer months, actually began a couple of weeks ago, there's all the Jews of the world read Perky Avos and study it. It goes from late spring through the summer. It ends in September.
Why don't we continue this conversation without the recording, because we only have like 3 more minutes left. And I'd like to thank you very much, Mr. Michael Druck. And this is going to be, I'm going to send you this recording so you can have it on your Facebook, and also it's going to be on my podcast. And I'll let you know where you can find my podcast. It's called alexradio.com or something like that. It's just came out.
I'll find it. Yeah, and show me how to put this on my Facebook page.
Let me just end the recording to send you the actual file so you can upload it, sir, and we can speak offline. Thank you very much for this wonderful conversation.
We'll speak another time.
Absolutely, sir. I'm going to stop the recording now, and thank you so much.
Thank you for having me here.
Thank you, sir.